So let's talk about some of the stuff Apple announced today at its non-event event. How's it going, folks? Today, Apple announced a whole lot of stuff, and it's headlined, of course, by the product red iPhone 7 and iPhone 7 Plus. This is the red iPhone that we've been hearing about for some time now, and it will be available for order on March 24th at 8:01 Pacific time. So that's 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. And this thing is sort of like the jet black iPhone 7 Plus in that it only comes in 128 and 256 gigabyte configuration. So the iPhone 7 starts at $749 for 128, goes up to $849 for 256, and of course it goes up from there. And after you see this thing, some of you may be willing to drop the coin necessary to acquire the iPhone 7 product red version because it's beautiful. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's a good looking phone. It's a special edition as well, although Apple says that there are plenty units available, so don't worry about limited supplies. The next announcement pertained to the iPhone SE. Now, like the iPhone 7 product red version, this too will be available for order on March 24th at 8:01 a.m. Pacific time. Now, there are no new colors or anything with the iPhone SE, but you do get double the storage. So instead of a 16 gigabyte and 64 gigabyte configuration, you get 32 and 128 now. All right, so switching gears a little bit, we're done with the iPhone announcements. Let's talk about the iPad. Now, one thing you're going to notice here is that there is no more iPad Air 2. It's kind of sad because the iPad Air 2 was such a marvelous tablet, but now it is gone. In fact, it's not even available for purchase on the refurbished store. I checked, and there are no units available right now. That could change, of course, in the future. The replacement is just called iPad. Yes, it's just called iPad. It's a 9.7-inch tablet with an A9 chip instead of the A8X featured in the iPad Air 2, and it starts, this is the kicker, it starts at $329 for 32 gigabytes of storage. So when you consider the price, it's a pretty compelling offer for a full-size 9.7-inch tablet. It comes in silver, gold, and space gray, and as mentioned, the base configuration starts you out at a healthy 32 gigabytes. You can go up to 128 gigabytes if you want to. Now, one of the sad things is that the iPad Air 2 is actually thinner at 6.1 millimeters than the new iPad. The new iPad comes in at 7.5 millimeters, which is actually just as thick as the old original iPad Air. And at 0.96 pounds, the iPad Air 2 is actually lighter than the new iPad. The new iPad is over a pound, which again makes it closer to the original iPad Air 1 than the iPad Air 2. Now, the new iPad does have a lot to offer. It has Touch ID, it has that Retina display, it has that A9 chip, 10 hours of battery life, etc. But there are some glaring differences between it and the iPad Air 2. For instance, there is no fully laminated display, which is going to make a huge difference in my opinion. That is one major downside. You also don't get that anti-reflective coating that comes with the iPad Air 2. But the real big standout difference to me is the lack of that fully laminated screen. That's going to make a huge difference in screen quality. It's a great price, but there are definite compromises when compared to the old iPad Air 2. Now, speaking of the iPad line, you'll also notice that there is no longer an iPad Mini 2. Now, this is notable because the iPad Mini 2 was at one time the cheapest way to get into the game at $269. Now, that's no longer available on Apple's retail store, but you can still find it on their refurbished store. Actually, you can find it for about $209 if you want to get in the game real cheap. So the iPad Mini 4 is currently the only iPad Mini being offered at 128 gigabytes of storage space in silver, gold, and space gray. It's $399 for Wi-Fi or $529 for cellular. So the iPad Mini is no longer the entry-level iPad. Now it's just the iPad. So let's talk about the Apple Watch. The big news is that there are tons of new Apple Watch bands available. We'll talk about those in a second. But one thing you're going to notice is that now you can only order an Apple Watch with either a sport band or a Milanese loop. You can no longer get an Apple Watch Series 2 with the leather band. If you want leather or any other type of band, you'll have to buy it separately. But the real big news in the Apple Watch world is that you can now buy Nike sport bands separately for $49. So you no longer have to buy the Apple Watch Nike Plus hardware just to get the band you want. And if the Nike bands aren't your speed, there are plenty of other options, including 3 new colors for regular sport bands. You got the azure color. There's also a, I'm trying to pronounce this right, Camellia, I guess that's right, Camellia color. And then there's also a Pebble color, no relation to the Pebble smartwatch, as if I really needed to clarify that. Okay, so Those 3 bands are available right now for $49. You can buy those over at the Apple Store. And if you don't like the sport bands, there are 6 new woven nylon bands available for $49. And here they are right here. So you'll find at least one color in there that you like, I hope. And if you're looking for something just a little more classy, then you can head over to Apple's website and check out the new additions over in the leather band world. Lots of options there as well. So the whole point is that if you have an Apple Watch, you have options. There are just tons of new Apple Watch bands to choose from. There's also new leather and silicone cases starting at $35 for the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. You start off with Pebble. That name sounds familiar. You have Azure. That sounds familiar as well. Notice these colors right here match the new Apple Watch Sport bands. The 3 new Apple Watch Sport bands have matching silicone cases for the iPhone. Pretty cool. So there's berry and leather. There's also sapphire and leather. And last but not least, there is taupe in leather. And there's also a new app that Apple is working on that will be released in April called Clips. And this is a video-centric app. It has a nice feature called Live Titles that allows you to speak and make your own titles using your voice. Similar to the type of features you'd find on a typical social network, but this is unbundled from the social aspect. So ladies and gentlemen, that has been a look at some of the new products announced today, headlined of course by the new iPhone 7 product red version. This is that beautiful looking metallic red iPhone. It goes on sale on the 24th of March at 8:01 Pacific time, 11:01 Eastern time. So I want to know what you guys think about today's announcements. What do you think about the product red iPhone 7? What do you think about the new cheaper iPad? Do you like these new products or do you not like them? Please let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. This is Jeff with 9 to 5 Mac.